An autopsy necropsy room is the facility within the laboratory where carcasses are handled, post-mortem studies are performed, and biological samples are taken. Autopsied animals may be contaminated with infectious and parasitic agents, which even after death can spread disease to the personnel performing these procedures. Therefore, it is essential that the facility is properly designed and that biosafety protocols are strictly followed. A BSL2 level necropsy room allows working with agents categorized as level 2 risk. The differential characteristics of this facility with respect to a conventional autopsy room are the access and workflow, the use of personal protective equipment or PPE, and the presence of extractor hoods over the tables equipped with HEPA filters. The adoption of individual prophylactic measures through vaccination is the first requirement to minimize the risk of transmission of some diseases. Personnel handling carcasses should be vaccinated against tetanus because of the handling of sharps during procedures. In addition, veterinarians who perform autopsies on wildlife should be vaccinated against the rabies virus, regardless of the country's rabies status. Access to the necropsy area requires mandatory individual passage through different spaces separated by interlocked doors that imply closing one door to open the next, otherwise passage is blocked. Inside the internal changing room, the worker first puts on his work pajamas, changes the mask he wears for an FPP2 mask, then puts on high-top boots, and on top of the pajamas, the worker puts on a disposable gown on top of the pajamas. Over the boots, high plastic tights are put on. On top of the gown, we put a waterproof apron and finally a pair of goggles. And finally a pair of protective goggles. Once inside, 2 pairs of disposable gloves, preferably nitrile, are put on. Communication with the outside of the necropsy room requires the obligatory use of a walkie-talkie, since no personal electronic device, including cell phones, can be used. For taking photographs, the use of a camera exclusively for this purpose is required. The work table also has a specific design. It is made of stainless steel. The edges are slightly raised to prevent materials, cadavers, or samples from falling to the floor, as well as the extravasation of biological liquids. In addition, it is ideally inclined towards the center to drain the liquid that is poured into it. It is necessary to have a refrigeration chamber and a freezing chamber in the necropsy room to preserve the cadavers and samples. When performing necropsies, always work according to good laboratory practices. Special care should be taken when handling sharp objects such as scalpels or knives. To avoid cuts, it is advisable to wear chainmail gloves, which should be placed on the hand opposite to the one handling the cutting material. The scalpel blade should always be removed with tweezers and deposited in specific yellow containers. Another important risk to take into account when performing autopsies is the use of carcinogenic chemicals such as formaldehyde to fix the tissues. Exposure should be minimized by preparing the containers beforehand in the chemical hoods. Samples that we have taken for histopathology and formal are left in the room fixing. Toxicology samples are collected in an individualized bag and frozen. And the samples for isolation in microbiology are placed in plastic bags disinfected with diluted bleach or Virkon. At the end of the work, it is necessary to carry out a thorough cleaning of the facilities and the material. First of all, the biological remains generated are placed in a double bag of resistant garbage closed with an autoclave date and placed inside biosafety containers. and placed in suitable biosanitary containers for subsequent disposal by a specialized service. Used materials such as forceps, scalpel handles, etc. are washed with soap and water, cleaned with diluted bleach, rinsed, dried, and stored. Special care should be taken with large materials such as costotomes, scissors, or knives, always wearing a chainmail glove and disposable gloves. The work table should be cleaned in the same way, using bleach or another disinfectant product and rinsing properly. If biological liquids have been spilled on the floor, the area should be cleaned and disinfected, respecting the action time and cleaning from external areas. And cleaning from the external areas of the room towards the center of the room to allow drainage. The exit of the room takes place after the cleaning of the same. For this, we are located at the point closest to the exit door, but without accessing the internal locker room. First, the plastic apron is removed, then the disposable gown. The tights are removed and discarded, taking care to step on the clean soles inside the inner locker room. Then the outer pair of gloves is removed and discarded.